Hello, everyone. Welcome to Confidence Through Cabaret. My name is Heather. I'm so glad that you're here. It's so great to see you again. Today, we're going to be talking about goal setting. And in my work as a training consultant and as a business coach, goal setting is absolutely imperative to making sure that we stay on the right track, because nobody wants to set goals and then not succeed. Otherwise we're not setting goals at all, really. So today we're talking personal life, and in Confidence Through Cabaret, if this is your first time here, we talk about personal life, work life, and stage life. On different days of the week, we look at different aspects. And of course, all of the skills and knowledge and experience applies to all of the areas of our life. They're transferable completely. And so what we do in Confidence Through Cabaret is we look for where we're strong. And we start from that area of our life where we do have confidence and where we do feel good. And then we look at where we aspire to build confidence and where we want to feel even better. And so for today, this is about personal life and our personal goals. And that's such a great thing to do at the beginning of the year. But it doesn't matter when you're finding this, because it's always a good time to set goals. So this year, at the beginning of January, I asked people in my Facebook community, which is Confidence Through Cabaret, and you are very welcome to be there. We do lots of fun challenges. And I asked who has set New Year's resolutions. And I was so pleased to hear how many did not set New Year's resolutions, but set some goals in manageable chunks and stated them well so that they'd set themselves up for success. So this week we've been talking about starting over. And we had Masterclass Monday, where we shared kind of starting over stories. And then this week on Wednesday, we'll be sharing a starting over story that's amazing on our podcast. And we'll be doing an excerpt and discussing it here on this channel as well. But each of those starting over moments will have started with a vision and a desire, and really aligning ourselves to what feels good. And so if you haven't seen the videos on values and on, kind of setting ourselves up for success, then do go back and have a look. They should be last week's from this date. So we look at our own personal core values and then aligning our values to our work life. So that's two different sessions. But for today, I said to you, we'll be looking at goal setting. And when we set goals, we want to set ourselves up for success as much as possible. So these are just some tricks and tips to really making sure that we have the right kind of statements in our goals so that they're a lot easier to achieve. And they're a lot easier to see that we've achieved as well, which is so important. So the first thing that we need to bear in mind when we set a goal is that we state our goals in the positive. So here we are, we're starting over, we've got a new project, we've got something that we're just launching, or we're just dipping our toe into. Maybe we're not even ready to launch. When we're setting goals, we state them in the positive, and it's very easy to talk about an away from goal, but we are not as motivated or as driven when we're moving away from something we don't want. So for example, the obvious one might be something like to quit something, or to lose something like losing weight, for example. And so what we need to think about is, what does that mean to us, and what do we want instead? So if we follow along with the losing weight, then we might say, what I want to do is feel more healthy, feel more energetic, look a certain way, perhaps. Some of us set targets around, what the scales say. I'm not a fan, but I get it. I get it. A lot of people prefer to measure that way. But we state our goals in the positive. So what do we want? What are we working towards? And make sure that sometimes with clients, they'll say, I don't really know what I want. Then I start with, so what don't you want? And then we can flip that and say, okay, so if you don't want that, what do you want instead? And then that sets us off into our positive statements. The second thing that I would say when you're writing your goals is to state what you will achieve. And also state why you want to achieve this, because this is going to be your motivation. And I've probably said this numerous times on this channel, but motivation is just willingness to put energy into it. And so if we know what we want and we know why we want it, then it keeps us to focused on on things that cause us to be willing to put energy in. In other words, motivation. So think about what you're willing to put energy into, why it's important to you, what your drivers are, what will feel good. And then the next thing would be to break your goal down into manageable chunks. So say, for example, I wanted to feel a certain way. Maybe I wanted to be able to run. Let's make this a little bit more measurable for ease of illustration. Maybe I want to be able to run a certain distance, and I want to be able to do that in a certain time, even perhaps. Then I might break that down into, so what are my smaller goals? And I was so pleased when Confidence Through Cabaret community came back and said, I've got these goals for the year and I'm breaking them down into smaller chunks, because that makes it manageable and that allows us to apply timescales and measures to it. So be really honest with yourself and really realistic with yourself. And if you're willing to, let's say if it's running, we're willing to do that, I don't know, once a week, then once a week it is. Try not to judge yourself. And we talk about that a lot on Focus on You Fridays, of just feeling into it and what feels good. So if it's once a week, it's once a week. Try not to say I'm going to do this 5 days a week or 6 days a week. I've done that so many times, and then I don't do it, and then I beat myself up, and then I say I only did it 3 times. Well, 3 times was better than 0 times. So try and be really honest with yourself about what's realistic in smaller chunks. What can you do within each day or within each week? So if it's something like you want to develop a meditation practice, then ideally you would be doing that twice a day, but once a day, maybe even for 5 or 10 minutes is a good start. And then build your practice up into something maybe more like 20 minutes. And then when you've got that practice, then start to build it up even further. The next thing is to make sure that you can measure your goals. And that's where those small chunks will be easier to measure in terms of quantities. How many times did you do it? But also think about other kinds of measures. So the question I like to ask here, and I do this a lot with my coaching clients, is how will you know when you've been successful? Or how will you know when you're making progress? Or how will you know when you're achieving your outcomes and it's working? So make sure that you have not just quantities, but also maybe it's that you'll feel better. Maybe that it's just you'll feel good going into a run, or you'll feel excited about the idea of sitting and having some time for yourself. And the next thing would be to schedule it into your diary. So if there is a time of day, great, then set it and do that immediately when you've said you would. So for example, with my fitness practice, I like to get up and get dressed. Even if I'm not doing a class or I'm not doing my exercise for a little while, I'll still get up and be dressed for that. So I'm already ready. I'm already committed to it. I've already put that positive statement in my mind that I will be doing that exercise, or I will be making time for whatever I've set as my goal. And so, prepare yourself and schedule your time, and then just don't think about it. Just decide you're doing it and get on with it. And then that way your brain and your body will promote you doing that. Now, there are some days when I say I'm going to exercise and I'm all ready to do it, and I'm maybe even signed up to a class, and then I think my body's telling me that it needs to rest. And then I like to reflect into it. And I like to say, if I miss this in an hour's time, how am I going to feel having not done my class? And if it's, oh, I'm going to feel terrible, I'm going to wish I had done it, then I do it. And once I get started, it's easy. Actually, it's not always easy. There are some days when the whole way through, I'm thinking, I'm going to shut this off. Maybe my Wi-Fi will fail and I won't have to finish the Zoom class, but I stay with it. And there are other times when I think, how will I feel in an hour if I haven't done it? I will feel relief because my body needs to rest, and I needed to honor that. So schedule that in, decide that you will do it, don't force it or judge it. The next thing I would say about goal setting would be to set some contingency plans. Now, things go wrong even with the best laid plans sometimes. So, what will happen if I'm going to be running? What will happen if it's raining and freezing cold or icy or snowy or whatever? What will I do instead? How will I compensate that? Will I do something indoors? Maybe I can do skipping indoors, or maybe I can do some sort of cardio. And there's so much stuff online that I might be able to do that might replace that. Um, if there's a contingency where if something comes up and there's an emergency and I can't do it on a Tuesday at 10, then how will I build in time to reschedule that so that I don't get behind in my planning and just skip it? The next thing I would say is to post your goals somewhere. So an ideal place might be somewhere on your fridge or on your pillow or on your bathroom sink, bathroom mirror even, or somewhere where you're going to keep being reminded of it. And then the next thing I would say that fits very much with that is tell people. Because I've done that before and I'm a master at hiding and saying, oh, no one will know if I skip it, but I'll know. So by telling people, and people who will support you, not people who are just going to say, you don't want to do that, but people who are going to say, that's amazing, and check in with you and say, how are you doing with that? Then I know if people are going to check in with me, I better be there. I better show up. And then the next one would be to review your goals. Check back with yourself. Check back with yourself at the end of the day, if that's appropriate, or at the end of the week, if that's appropriate, or even at the end of the month. I would say a month is a long time to wait for a review, but check back in with yourself on a regular basis. How am I doing? And if you need to, then readjust your goals. It's no problem. You might say, I was going to run 3 times a week. I now have started and I realize that that's difficult to commit to. And I will continue to try to do 3 times a week, but I'm committed to doing twice a week for now until I can up it to 3 times a week. So don't be really hard on yourself, but also don't be too lenient on yourself where you kind of go, nah, because you need to go back when you're reviewing to your why. Why did I want this in the first place? How did I want to feel? What did I want to see, hear, taste, touch, smell, whatever your senses are that you can engage when you're setting your goals in the first place? And then go back and review those. Why did I want to do this? And then what's preventing me from doing it if I'm not doing it? And what has helped me succeed if I am succeeding? Even better. And the last tip that I want to share with you is make sure you celebrate. I know that sounds for some of you a little bit kind of corny, but it's so important. And I have had times when I've gone, yeah, but like I did my 3 times, but I didn't do it as strong as I wanted to, or I didn't do it as long as I wanted to, or, celebrate the thing that you showed up. I now celebrate the fact that I made it. I stayed there and I exercised for that hour-long class. And yeah, it was hard. And yeah, I didn't do all the things that I've done other times or that the rest of the class were doing. But you know what? I stayed, and it will get easier and better each time. Now, this is part of a masterclass that we did on our website, which is www.confidencethroughcabaret.com. And it's part of Mindset 101. And so this is the basics of getting our mindset really strong and positive. But we have so many other masterclasses. We have so many other bonuses and exercises and groups and workbooks and so on. So do check out our website. Also check us out on all the socials on Confidence Through Cabaret, except for Twitter, which is at YBYWYS. And I'm also on Clubhouse as Heather at YBYWYS. And that stands for your body, your world, and your stage. Own it. Enjoy. Thank you for being here. On Thursday, I will be back and we'll be talking about work goals. So join me. Bye for now.